and share my screen. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of ways to use the routers and the controllers, including stuff that we haven't learned yet, which you will learn tomorrow in the lab. But I'll show you here as well. So I still use. Wait, where's my code editor? It's down. All right. So I'm going to use what I'm using today. And I'm going to add a couple of routes and controllers so that you can see the difference. Wait, submit now hide everything. Oh my God. Right. So here I'm going to work on this as well. So we have the route user here, right? Inside our app, we have route user. Okay. It's very normal. I'm going to create another route. Say .use, and I'm going to say Mojave. Just for demo.
But what is this?
Just showing how to create new routes, and then we will have nested route. Mojave router.
Should we also copy what you're doing?
You don't have, just showing you how to do it. You might. I'm recording it, so you can rewatch it if you want. I'm gonna create Mojave router right here, equal to require. Let's import it from route, and then I'm gonna create a new file to contain that router here. So let's say Mojave. Let's save it. Okay, now I'm going to create a new file called Mojave.js. Cons router equal to require express dot router, right? Basic stuff. So now I'm gonna have router dot what? Dot what? Hello. I want to create a route like this.
But do you need to also import Express?
I did it here.
Oh, okay.
It's shocking. Okay, so I want an endpoint that looks like this, Mojave, and just it. Showing okay text. So I'm gonna do like dot route here. So root route for Mojave. Root route for Mojave. Okay. And here we have the method. Right now I'm going with get method. And in here you can either define a function in the controller, or you can define a function right here. Okay. Very similar to Express generator, right? So I'm gonna say response.send. Okay. Let's start with the very simple response first. String. Response, okay. Test my app. npm run dev. Right, nothing wrong. No, there's something wrong. Can run file. Oh, I didn't export it. Module.export equal to router. Set. Cannot find module. Oh, is it? Are we in this correct folder? Oh, from app, you don't have to go back anymore. Just go inside browse. Okay, done. Cool. Okay, now if I go to that page, 5000 and then Mojave. Okay. What if I want to send something like my name equal something khóa, and then instead of printing okay, I want to bring khóa here. So the first step, when you have that question, you have to analyze the question a little bit, right? for now, I'm sending a query, right? A query which has the body of name colon qua. So if you want to read the query, you can use this syntax. Cons query equal to requested query, right? So now I'm gonna console log query for you. So what do you expect to see here on the terminal?
Whatever your query is.
If I'm sending this, hit enter here. What do you expect to see?
The query is fine.
An object. Inside the object, there's only one key, which is name colon qua, right? I'm gonna hit enter here and look at the terminal. See? So this is how you read the value from the query. You can have as many queries as you want.
Can you go back to your code?
Here we go.
How does it know that it's something named?
Oh, you name it here. You name the key is named here.
Oh.
So if I'm gonna have another key, equal 32, hit enter. Look at your console. Right? Remember, it's always string. Always string. There's no number here. It's always string. Okay. How about params? What if I want to send something like this? Go to here. I want to send something like Mojave and then slash something. I want to bring something as well. I want to bring something as well. Oh, sorry. I want to bring this value as well. That's what you call params. We have query, we have params. What is called param? Param, you can define params like this. Maybe some ID, for example. Remember React router, right? That's also called params, use params. So you have ID params, and let's say console log. You have something called cons params equal to requested params. And let's console log query in param. I'm going to hit enter here. You still see the result, okay. But you check the console log terminal, you see another object which have the param ID, right?
Wait, can you go back to your code?
So you have something called query. You also have something called params, right? You also have something called body. You know that already. Requested body, JSON body, right? So we have a couple of ways to send data. We can use query, we can use param, we can use body. For params, we can actually nest the routes together, right? We will learn how to do that tomorrow. Not really learn, we use it. So I'm going to explain how we use it today as well. So what if you want to have something here? Let me think of example. For example, tomorrow you will have something like very similar to like this, and you have two localhost 5000, and then you have experience. Imagine experience is just a event, it's just events, right? You have ID of the events, experience ID, and then you have something called reviews, right? That's going to be a nested route. So we need to change the response here depending on the ID of the experience. That's why we need params. And this is how we read the params. And so if you want to use nested routes, for example, I'm going to create that one as well. I'm going to create the endpoint for this. Okay. I'm going to change this one to Mojave, not Mojave, and Mojave review. See? So I'm trying to create an endpoint for this request. Can anyone help me with that? So right now, this routes will go into Mojave, right, as you can see here, right? But I want to have ID as well as the review here. Obviously, we also have something called router.route. This is the root route for Mojave. We have get, and then the function rest.send, okay, from root route Mojave, right? I'm going to test this one right here. Go away. Okay, from the root route. So whatever we want to define an endpoint like this, and the content will really depends on the ID here. So you can either use this way, ID, and then we'll have we have the ID here. We have reviews, right? Let's say I'm gonna return the ID params dot ID. Okay. And then let's try it. Some ID and then reviews. There we go. We successfully received some ID there. And based on this ID, we will use, for example, we can find experience, or we can find event equal to like something like this, but find by ID, and then we put the ID there, params ID, right? And then we can render the event. So this is normal nested route. What if I don't have a function right here? What if I want to have another group of routes, right? Groups of routes. So instead of having everything here, I can do something like, let's do it here. Router.route. That's another concept, right? Nested route. What do we have? Okay, we need this / ID, and I'm gonna name it Mojave ID, MID / reviews / the ID of the review as well, right? So right here, I'm gonna go inside. Wow, so silent. Comma. Can you use comma here? I think I can, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I can. Right. So now we have a nested route. I'm gonna call this one review router. Okay. Review router. Let's forget about this first. Let's change this one to for example. So now we need the review router somewhere, not here, not inside this file. I'm gonna create here, for example, review router.js. Oh shit! Sorry, I should name it review to be consistent, right? And I'm gonna copy everything to set times. Delete these. I don't want these. These as well. So here you have a root route for reviews. .get function respond.send. Okay. Guess what? If I go to this endpoint, should I see? No, I'm gonna say request. I'm gonna copy the same thing here. Here, right? So I'm copy and paste. I haven't typed anything here, right? So here I want to say params dot what? What do we have here? MID, right? So param dot MID What do you expect to see if I go to this endpoint? Here. Is it summary? You don't know yet? Let's hit enter here. Syntax error, guys, sorry. I didn't import. I should name it differently. Sorry, I didn't import it. I'm going to import it here. Require const review router equal require. Where do we get it? From here, right? Okay, again. When I hit enter, it's not found. Right. Not found. Why is that? Even though I have MID here and then have reviews. See, Mojave, start from Mojave here, and then we have some ID, and then we have reviews. It doesn't match. If I change this one to haha, it match. But I change this one to reviews, doesn't match. Why is that? Oh, I'm confused too.
Does it have to slash the slash at the end?
You, maybe.
Oh,
And again, same thing, doesn't work. Why is it doesn't work? It's not working. Let's check the user here. Sorry, wait. There we go. I did. It doesn't work here for some reason. So we need to register it with our app, or we can use router use, and then here. Let's try again. It does work, right? It does hit that route, but you don't see anything because I'm going to prove it again. So here I'm going to send a special string with a variable and some text, right? So you should see some text only. Undefined, some text, right? So it's undefined. Why is it undefined? The param is correct, right? MID. So this is something called nested route. In here, if you want to use nested route, you need something like this. Configure it, merge param, and then give the value true. Just keep in mind this one. Then again, let's try it. Okay, I'm gonna hit enter again. There we go. Okay, this is new, I know, and we don't have time to cover this tomorrow. And it's something that you need to read on the documents of Express. That's called merge param. So you want the children route, the child route, to inherit the params from the parent. So here's the parent. The whole Mojave is a parent, and then inside Mojave you have a child called review router, right? You router use Mojave use this as a child, and this child, if you want it to inherit this param from the parent, you need to give the options merge param, right? So that's all about the router. Let's go back to the middleware. So right now I want to have a middleware right here. So for example, I want to log, console log. Someone come visit this page, that text. Someone visit that page. Whenever a user visit this page, actually, whenever I visit this page, I want my console to bring that text, right? So that's how we use a middleware, right? So we're gonna use a middleware right here. I'm gonna say bring text or bring log, for example, And let's define the middleware right here, so I don't have to create a new file and then put it there. Function print log. This middleware as just like a controller, it will have request, respond, and next. So right here, I see many of you have made this mistake. The order does matter. Request, respond, and next. It cannot be respond and request and then next. You can omit next, that's okay. But don't change the order, please. It's gonna fail, it's gonna break, right? But for middleware, you always use next. For controller, you may not use next, but for middleware, you have to use next, right? So I'm gonna console.log someone visit review router, right? And then I'm gonna call next, just like that. And I call this middleware right here. Okay, let's clear our log here and then reload the page. Okay, someone visit that site. That's middleware. That's route. The whole group of routes, not just one route, a whole group, right? So that's a middleware. I want to use another middleware. I'm going to use a chain middleware. So this middleware will generate let I equal 0, right? And then I'm going to pass I plus plus, and then request dot I will equal to I. So I pass down I to the next middleware in line. This middleware going to print I, for example, request, respond, next, same thing. I'm still calling next at the end. Always, for middleware, always call next at the end, so that it can move to the next chain. Okay, and here I'm gonna console log request.I, right? And then add this middleware behind this comma. Okay, let's test this again. I expect to see 0 plus 1 equal to 1. There we go. So that's how we chain middleware together, and how we pass data down from the top level to the second level, the first level to second level, right? First middleware, we pass down request.I to the second middleware in line. And then the second middleware will pass it down to the controller. And I'm going to go inside the controller here and bring I again. So instead of bringing I, I'm going to do request.I equal to request.I plus 1, right? And here inside my, here, I'm going to say console log dot request.I again. So I know for sure that when it hits this endpoint, I already have request.I, just like how we have request.user, right? In our lab earlier. So I expect to see number 2 here. Let's try and hit it. 2. So I'm trying to summarize everything in as simple as it can be. Right? Instead of you having user and other stuff, I'm trying to use numbers. So that's how we use middleware. We can add as many middleware as we want, but be careful. If something fails, for some reason it fails somewhere inside the chain, it's very hard to find where it failed, right? Be careful. Try to make the middleware as meaningful as you can. Make it as short as possible. Don't have too many logic inside one, right? So else, right? A couple of notes about response and its status. Inside if else, you should have return here. So that means we stop the whole function. from executing, right? We stop the whole function right here. If it hit this condition, right? Meaning it's not gonna execute these at all. So that's why we need to return. At the end, we don't really need to return. You cannot make it because this controller is the last in line. Not really the last, but almost the last. You have one more thing, like one more function after this controller. Can you guess what is it? What is this? If you had time and look at the after.js, you have one more function. Here we go. This function is kind of like the last one. It's gonna read on the errors object and return it for you. So for example, if I throw error here, guess what happened? If I throw error right here, something bad happened, right? And I'm gonna try this round. Ooh, wait. Oh, wrong way. Not here. Sorry. Here. Right. Test it. Something bad happened. It is handled by this function. So it's going to be the last in line, and this is application level. It's not router level. It's application level. The difference is this is the last chain, the last, like, how do you call it? The last ring or the last function in the chain. I'm going to say the last function in the chain for router is this controller. Right? This controller is the last function in the chain for the router. But for application level, you still have one more. This function and this function, two more actually. This function and this function.
So like when the code runs, it runs through Mojave first, then review, then after.
It actually go to Mojave, and then inside Mojave, it go to review. And then when it exit review, when you throw the error, it exit review and it hit this middleware. App.use middleware, and this middleware will listen to the error here, right? Look, the first argument is error. If there's any error, it will throw return that error, render the error template, right? I don't know where it comes from. Maybe here, yeah. Oh, not here. Sorry. Where is it? Here, the error template. Inside that, it will render all the error and the stack as well. So basically, that's how middleware works for the application level. Right. We will learn how to do this error handler next week. Week 9, right? Yeah. And it's gonna be, you don't have to know how to do it like completely on your own, but it's good to know how to do with it. Okay. It's not required in your final project. Just good to know. All right. So that's the difference between the application level middleware and the router level middleware. Right. I know it's a little bit fast. Really fast. Because it's supposed to be summary, right? Right. I expect to see here a question from the routers and the controller. You can ask anything. Ask anything.
Ask anything?
Related to router and controller.
Oh.
Or you can try to play around with it at home. It doesn't hurt, right? There's no data at all. It's just router, params and IDs, queries and params. Right? You can try to play with this at home. I think the most confusing thing for you is like you have to define function somewhere else, and then you have to import it and use it in another file, right? And when everything adds up, it's gonna confuse the hell out of you, right? And that's why I try to define function here. Okay. So you have this middleware, first middleware, second middleware, right here. It's small stuff. I know it's small stuff.
Yeah, right now I need to like fix my password first.
Okay. About this. About this merge param, I will explain in the lab tomorrow. You expect to encounter this in the lab tomorrow, maybe on Friday, Saturday if you want. Yeah. So this concept is called nested router. Right. And we will use next week, not now, but next week. Right, cool. Cool. Got too much. Okay. Because this concept in there, like we just learned like a couple of days ago, so that's why I went fast. But for React, I may have to go slower because it's long before. Okay. And don't worry, next week we're gonna go back to React as well to build the Airbnb app with React as well. Don't worry. So what do you think about these? Too fast, too much?
So if we want
Be honest.
If we want to do some more research about this later,
Yeah.
what should we search?
Help with my password part.
Express documentation. There's a whole lot to read here, I would say, yes. But if you want to go deep inside that, it should be router. And the doc cover quite a lot, but not enough. There's param here as well. There are also params, as you can see here, right? There are also params, and yeah. There are also validator. If you want to know more, just go to the doc and read. Even though it's very hard to understand at first, but you can try. There are also on. What's on here? So they have router.route, then .on, then get, and then put, and then post, and then delete, right? They also have something called all. All here is like to use that middleware to apply to all the subsequent methods. So there are quite a lot of different ways to use. Right. So app use, you can use app use for application level. Or router.use for router level. So there are quite a bunch. So that's pretty much it. If you want to read more, you can. I always I strongly advise you to read the official documentation first. Always. And then if you want to know more, you can Google. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna stop it here. Oh, it's too late. Okay, guys, have fun. Do your homework and then come back tomorrow at 9.